care is not selfish. All too often, we sweep things under the rug and act like it's not an issue. But when you keep doing the same thing over and over and getting a terrible result, why do you stay on it?
Yeah.
It's the proverbial merry-go-round. Life is not meant to be a merry-go-round. Keep going around in circles till you puke. It's crazy. It's not supposed to be all rainbows and unicorns either. It's supposed to be a roller coaster. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. The beauty part about those downs, when you're in a dry spell, in a dark spell, you know that up is coming right after.
Hey guys, welcome back. Look, Unstoppable, I'm telling you right now, we've got a powerful guest today you're absolutely going to love. One of the things I love most about him is not the size of his muscles, it's actually the size of his heart. He is one of the leading founders of one of the largest IT companies in the country, not to mention one person that has been on an emotional, spiritual, and intellectual journey now for months on end. And here to learn more about how to be harder than life is the one and only Kelly Siegel. Kelly, what's going on, dude?
Buddy, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for squeezing me in, fitting me in, and giving me so much of your mind share. Your smile, your energy, your love emanates out of you. So,
man, I appreciate that. You know, it's funny. You really forced my chest under quite a bit of a contention today. Like I walked out, I felt like I'd grown my chest and started deflated. So I have to get back to the gym and get that going again.
Well, I love that we get to go to the gym, and thank you for making time for that as well. 7 a.m. workout's great. This is the best cup of coffee in the morning, and I went easy on you. You know I did.
I know you did. Well, you know I've got my jacked up elbow right now. That helped.
Is that an excuse?
Just a little bit of
excuses don't get results. You know
that's
that.
Right. Well, I mean, I want to jump straight in. Like, you have an incredible story. I want to be able to focus more on the lessons that you've learned from your story, as important as the story itself. What I'd like for people to understand is what it really takes to become unstoppable when you have nothing but adversity thrown at you left and right. So break it down. Share me a little about your story.
Well, I like that we're going to focus on usable lessons for people. That's what this is about. What you want to listen to podcasts, you want to learn. Everybody has trauma. Everybody's had difficult pasts. It's all about what they've done in their mindset. Family, I came from alcoholic parents that were physically, emotionally abusive. I had zero advantages. And literally the reason why I love the name of the podcast Unstoppable is I always say I'm an unstoppable force, and impossible only describes the degree of difficulty for me.
Say that again.
Impossible only describes the degree of difficulty. I'm gonna come, man. It's hard to beat somebody that will never give up.
Yeah.
I've been in sales my entire life. Most of my deals that I win after most people have given up. And I just keep coming. And I'm not going to stop until I get what I came for or something better. And that just comes. I did that with brute force for years. We talked about this at dinner last night. Just brute force, just a chip on my shoulder and gosh darn it, I'm going to prove the world that I'm worthy of something. And then I started doing the work. And you lose that chip on your shoulder. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not angry at the world. I'm not drinking the poison and expecting my parents to die. I've forgiven them and I've moved on. And life got better.
Go figure.
All of a sudden, massive success. The Harder Than Life brand is blowing up and people like hearing about it. So now we have to do it for good. As we've talked about, this is all for charity. I'm not trying to buy a jet or get another house.
You can just ride on mine. It's fine.
Hey, at any rate, this is all to give back. I want to empower, to model, to inspire people that, and really truthfully, younger kids that go through the same thing that I did. And today's society is probably worse because social media, the kids are looking at everybody else living their best life, and everybody's living their best life. Yeah,
with filters and all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
filters and just do you ever seen anybody post a shot of them having a bad time?
It's incredibly rare.
Yeah,
incredibly rare for sure.
At any rate, so it's literally harder than life. Doing the hard things over and over until they become easy. Yeah, I crack up because I think the next book's going to be called Easier Than Life, because after you do it, your friend Ed Milet says it. After you get that positive momentum train going, it's almost hard to get off of it. Yeah, and you get those daily habits and rituals, and it just spirals into.
I know one of the things we've been talking about recently is you do the hard to make it easy, right? But then you learn how to leverage the easy to make it flow, right? So you're now operating in what I call flow. So you're 5 months in. You launched your book January, I think 31st or 30th, right? You blow up, the book blows up, your social media blows up. Of course, you're now seeing that part of the blow up is you get to deal with haters, which is always fun. So we'll come back to haters.
I call them naysayers. We don't do negative.
All right, that's right, naysayers. But you do what I do with naysayers. You send them love and light every single time.
Absolutely.
Regardless of what they're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's none of my business what people think about me. And I really mean that.
Well, let's talk about old Kelly, because old Kelly would have responded differently. How would have old Kelly responded? I'd
have found every one of them, beat them up. That's the way I grew up, man. We grew up off of 8 Mile, the 8 Mile from Eminem. Yeah. And that's what you did, man. Your buddies, and we've gotten fights. And it was nasty. Yeah. So that's how you solved everything, even if it was friends. And it's just... Violence is never the answer. This is why I stress, you'll hear me talk about emotional intelligence over and over. Use your words. Yeah. And really, truthfully, if we're vulnerable, and I say, hey, Stephen, what you just said kind of hurt my feelings. It triggered me. And the trigger is my responsibility, but it still can be talked about. But it takes 2 people. Then you have to be ready to be like, hey, let's talk about that. Yeah. Most people are like, shut up. you dork or whatever, insert, you pansy, whatever. But, we had some really vulnerable conversations last night. You're a trigger. I mean, the way you question things is so deep. You make me think. I love that.
Awesome.
So keep firing them at me. I'm expecting to be tested.
I've got I'm sure we'll have a few. We naturally gravitate our way towards there. So everybody who's watching, you're gonna get some deep content today. It's gonna cause you to think. It's gonna cause you to feel. More importantly, we hope it causes you to change. Ooh. And change in the appropriate way to bring your best life into now. Rather than spend doing what we did was waste decades doing it wrong, wasting time and energy when we could have been doing it better all along. Gosh. One of the things I want to hit on real fast that I took out of the book is the importance of taking inventory, but being honest with yourself to take inventory, like to really, where am I at? How did I get here? But kind of like do it without beating yourself up. Talk to me about the journey of how you obviously took inventory for yourself, because you had to face some pretty hard truths about Kelly in order to get Kelly to elevate Kelly.
It's an understatement, man. There's, when I really made the decision to go down this, but look at me just tensing up when I say this. It still has triggers. It was hard, man, and I was alone. I have a team and a family to help, but I chose to face my demons alone. And I was curled up in a ball, crying on it, having emotions I'd never felt before. I didn't know what was what. And then the pandemic hit, and it was insane. So we're going to talk a lot about self-awareness, self-justification, self-love. It's all about self. And self-care is not selfish. We have got to put ourselves number one.
It's actually responsible. Self-care is responsible.
God, I love you.
Love you back, bro.
You say things, you complete my sentences, and it's just weird. The first chapter in the book, Heart and Life, is self-aware. And all too often, we sweep things under the rug and act like it's not an issue. But when you keep doing the same thing over and over and getting a terrible result, why do you stay on it? Yeah. It's the proverbial merry-go-round. Life is not meant to be a merry-go-round. Keep going around in circles till you puke. It's crazy. And here's the other thing. It's not supposed to be all rainbows and unicorns either. It's supposed to be a roller coaster. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. The beauty part about those downs, when you're in a dry spell, in a dark spell, you know that up is coming right after. I just came out of a good 5 month. And let me put it in perspective. Yes, things were dark in my mind. The Heart and Life brand was blowing up. The book was an Amazon bestseller. My IT company, National Technology Management, was doing great. My leadership team, culture was Dude, people would trade their problems for my problems straight up there. So it's just I was in the arena battling my limiting beliefs of, and I'll be honest, it was that I wasn't lovable. Yeah. And when you grew up in a family like I did, where they were never around, and when they did show up, mayhem came. And I'm talking mayhem.
Mayhem and pain.
Lots of pain.
Physical pain.
I would run and hide. And my Let story is a lot like mine. Dad would come home drunk, and you could tell by when that key hit the door how he opened the door. Yeah. Was he happy drunk? or was he angry drunk? And happy drunk would give me a beer at 8 and 9 years old and have him drink with him and play him records. And I think, oh, this is camaraderie. This is kind of cool. You have a drink and you get to bond with people and you fit in. And then angry drunk came home and beat on me. And he was a big boy, 6'2", 6'1", 260 pounds. And I was 5 foot nothing.
Yeah.
So that's why I got this big, tough exterior.
Yeah. You got a pretty big shell now. In fact, all right. So we're going to go ahead and go here. We started the conversation on this question.
I knew you were going to go on this.
You opened the door. All right. So, I believe that in life, business, career, relationships, that ultimately everything is brought into your life to serve you, even the painful stuff, the uncomfortable stuff, and whatnot. No one knows for sure why you would have suffered the abuse early on that somehow propels you now. But I think hindsight being 2020, you can look back like I can and be like, this made me, right? I know for me, when I started my first business, the big construction company, right? When I first started that, I told you the story about how it got started last night. When I started that business, it was out of necessity. I grew it out of fear. I grew it out of insecurity. I grew it out of wanting to prove everybody wrong because, I dropped out of high school to take care of my family, right? And everybody's like, you dropped out of high school, you're going to be a loser.
Did you get your GED?
I did get my GED. I did. That was as far as I got, though.
That's awesome.
That's as far as I got. And then, and obviously the construction company went on to blow up over time. And one of the things that I realized is I actually needed to operate from that fear or that dark or the shadow self or whatever you want to call it. Like I needed it at that time. It created a gritty tenacity that I didn't really know I needed. I mean, I gave you the litter box story last night. That gritty tenacity, that mindset shift, that brain power came from that moment, right? My question for you is are you still operating on the original program, or are you now seeing the validation or the way forward operating on a new program? Because I would say your company's successful. You're super successful as an individual. You have toys and stuff like that, but you don't identify with the toys. You enjoy the toys. You own the toys don't own you, is what I'm getting at. So you have all of the pluses and minuses. I know you do a gratitude walk with your dog every so often, or almost daily. I know you're very intentional as a father with your daughter. To make sure that when you guys spend time together, you guys are doing breakfast and dinner together. Like you're a very intentional man, just by sheer nature. Like you're in a position now where you are really, really driving home the power of intention, which is, I would say, why you're getting so much rapid growth now. But my question is are you starting to disassociate yourself from the gritty tenacity person and more into the faithful flow person?
Faithful flow person. First of all, this is why we're friends. That operating out of fear and lack and scarcity, you just summed up how I built my company. I was just fearful. And that's how I started off saying, I said the chip on my shoulder, and that's kind of what you just said. So yeah, I'm operating, everything I've done in my life has been out of aggression. It has been push until something happens. And when you operate out of fear, it isn't lasting. So now I'm operating out of abundance and love, and I'm surrendering. You called it, what would you call it? Flow and
faith and flow.
Faith and flow.
Yep.
I'm operating.
Believe that everything's happening for you,
and it is so uncomfortable because I have been taught that you want to eat, you go out and kill. What was it? I am no longer the prey; I am the predator. So I guess I'll have to check back within you in a couple months and say, this is very recent. I was doing an EMDR session about my mother. One of the most brutal beatings she's ever gave me, almost killed me. And once I released that was what was holding me back. And all of a sudden I had a 2 weeks of really self-discovery where I literally was sitting in my hot tub and meditating almost daily just to get through the day. And then it broke loose and I'm like, ooh. And then that's when the change. So we'll check back in a few months when this airs and I'm going to tell you, and you'll probably say this, we've been doing this, everything I read, there's going to be some tremendous success. And keep in mind too, we're 5 months into this, but I wrote the book during the pandemic. It took a year from the second I said, yes, I'm writing a book to the moment it appeared. So that, you don't see all the work behind the scenes. It was the same thing with my IT company, National Technology Management. I worked for 5 years without making a dollar.
Yeah.
It's how
I
it
did the
works.
same thing with my construction business. 7 years before I ever made any real money. And then almost
7 years?
almost 2 decades before I ever made any real money.
I haven't made any real money, so could I have some of yours?
I disagree with that entirely.
But as you go down that faith and flow path, I find myself not needing one.
Well, and this is where I think you and I started off at dinner last night. And again, the audience is getting some added benefit because they get to now come into a private conversation. We talked about the chip on the shoulder. And then I've discovered in the last 5, 6, 7 years that the things that served me early days to build the early stage of the company or develop the leadership teams or whatever are no longer needed. Right? I don't need those things anymore. I have nothing left to prove to anybody. I went from homelessness to building a very large company. Nobody can take that.
Did you care? Did you really? Were you trying to prove to anybody else, or was it yourself you were trying to prove to?
I would dare say it's probably both, but it's always more to self than it is to others.
Yes.
However, but we'll put more precedence listening to others than actually applying it to ourselves.
But the general listener, I would argue, is probably trying to impress other people.
Oh yeah.
And I think the reason of our survival as as children was just get through, so it's impress ourselves, and that's what probably bonds us too.
Safety and security. Yeah, for sure. Well, where I want to go with this specifically is I asked this question last dinner, and you didn't have an answer at the moment. You said
you took it all. You took over the conversation after that. I had an answer.
All right, well, let's go there. All right, so you've got this massive shell. There's nobody left to beat you up. There's nobody left to take advantage of you. Is the shell still serving you?
You had a great answer back. And I said, it's so odd that you asked me this question because very recently I was unpacking this. And it was, look at me freaking stuttering because this is a deep question. And the short answer is no, it's not. But it's who I am. It's who got me here. What got me here isn't going to get me there. However, having the big arms and the 6-pack is creating a beacon of light for people to come to me and say, it's safe to come talk to me. So I'm going to leverage it, but do I need it anymore? No. No. And it took a lot of pain to get there. A lot.
And the reason I asked that question, and the reason I was already kind of knew what you were going to say, kind of answer wise, because I'm watching it happen, right? I'm a big believer that in order to evolve to the next level, you have to disassociate from the former level.
Hard to do.
Right? But it has to be done with intention, which you're very intentional about. One of the things I love hanging out with you about is you always like the deep question. You're not a surface level person. Surface level conversations, hey, it's nice to know you, it's gonna go whatever. Like, tell me about you, right? How long did it take you to cultivate the desire to really know more about other people rather than to have people know about you?
Well, we've talked about this a little bit. I don't even like talking about me. This is uncomfortable. This background, everybody being it's uncomfortable for me. But I know it's what it means to the ends. We talked about it last night, where I'll shovel pee and poop out of a litter box with my hands if it means that I get to donate to charity. I had to empty a urine jar, and I learned from it. So I have no ego. I am not too proud, but I think that I've always been interested in people. I just think that I wasn't present enough to listen because I would ask the question, I'd listen to what I want to hear, and I was looking for, this is what everybody does, confirmation bias.
Yeah.
Tell me that the question I asked is the answer that I want to know. But my grandparents, who took me in after I graduated from high school and I'd go home for vacations in college, were Jewish, and they had many very wealthy Jewish friends, and some of them survived the Holocaust and went through the Holocaust. And I'm talking amazing, rich, filthy rich. I'm not going to name drop people that you would know that had to run in. They owned big companies, had to run in and hide from the Germans, from German families, run into town, steal. And this person is multimillionaire. And I would ask them about it. And then the husband and the wife would always say, he won't talk about this with anybody else but you. because he knew that my intentions were pure. Fast forward here, I get people telling me things that they normally don't say because my intentions are pure. I want to know because I'm trying to think of how I can help you. How can I serve you? What point can I give back? And then how can I help the audience of the Unstoppable Show and the Heart of the Life or any audience I am from something I learned from you? So I've always been inquisitive, but a lot of it didn't sink in because I was so busy searching out another party or probably drinking. And now, saying no to the naughty water and just not wanting to drink anymore. I take it all in and I pay attention. I mean, how many times did I look at my phone last night?
No, we didn't. During dinner, neither one of us did.
That's a good conversation. Yeah, means
sure.
I was totally focused.
We were there we were there 2.5 hours, I believe.
And I went home. Yeah. I went back to the hotel, and I was like, "We should probably go out." I was physically, emotionally drained because you had to be thinking, "That's great. Now we're going to be friends forever," because we know that it's who wants to have a service level conversation. Yeah. I don't want to talk about people. Yeah, I want to talk about ideas and how can we go and change one of those naysayers.
I would dare say that is one of the leading success principles of successful entrepreneurs is they're constantly talking about innovation and ideas over people and toxicity.
So we talk about success all the time. What's your definition of success?
How many people can I serve?
Bam.
Yeah. Yeah. My team and I, I've shared this before. I'm a big believer in creating a legacy that outlives you. Every time I bring up Steve Myrick's name, I know. Yeah. I'm getting there. Chapter 10, baby.
Oh,
chapter 10.
Gosh, my brother from another mother, man.
When we started talking through that, I realized that every time I bring up Steve's name, Steve is immortal. Every single time. Because the world never knew him. He was never a thought
immortal or mortal?
Immortal. Sorry, immortal.
Don't use my line now. I'm the chosen one.
Well, there's a few of us, but it took some time to figure that out on my own as well. But in the grand scheme of things, the power of one idea, the power of one concept, the power of one hug, the power of one conversation, the power of one belief when you don't believe in yourself is a huge thing. It changed my life, and I know it's changed yours. I'm curious to know, have you been conscious or subconscious in what you've let go from your past and what you brought into your relationship with like your daughter, for example? In other words, how are you intentionally different or choosing to be intentionally different with the different upbringings?
Ooh, I'm going to lean into this one. So the answer is both. You have to be conscious and subconscious because there are certain parts of my daughter that trigger me still. So, but with everybody else in my relationship with you, I don't get triggered. I get thought provoked. So the conscious means what you're aware of and making decisions on today. And then the subconscious are decisions that are being made for you, which is 95%.
Yeah.
I'm very in tune with that subconscious. And I just use little basic tips that were just give it 3 seconds before you answer. It's respond, not react. So I'm very deliberate with my daughter. Now, there's also some negativity to that because she listens to everything and she has access to, you brought up Amber Lee, she has access to powerful women from the podcast and stuff, and they all love her. Yeah. So she knows that she has resources. I'm perfectly imperfect, Stephen. I'm a work in progress. I'm trying to get better and better and better. Am I healed? I'm pretty healed. Am I healed 100%? Not really. I think we're always strive to get there. There's certain things that she does that trigger me immediately, and I still react like a dumb dad. I yell, and then I immediately.
Do you have dad jokes?
I do not because I don't have a dad bod. So there's nothing to. All her kids.
I have dad jokes, and I don't have a dad bod.
Well, all of her friends.
I'm not going to get you for Christmas or Hanukkah.
She's 14, so she's doing the junior high drama stuff. She's just about to start high school. She's my why, Stephen. It's just, we've talked about it. If I didn't have her, I'd probably be dead because I would have continued drinking and wasting my life away, and I wouldn't be here to help people. Yeah. And I want to talk about that further is the messages. You can, the last post I put out, I think I got 1,000 negative messages, but I got 34,000 positive ones. So I have one thing that I took from my stepfather was he always focused on the negative. And I'm at least self-aware when I do that. Ooh, and I talk to that, hey, just let that go, and then focus on the positives. Focus on the 34,000, not the 1,000. So I go back into my DMs and I see, hey, I didn't drink today because of you. Or, hey, would you give me some tips on ab exercises? You know, instead of people hitting me with all you do is steroids. Yeah, I wish there was a magic pill to everything. If I just took steroids and got bigger.
Well, so for the record, I've worked out with you in half level, and yeah, he's just as intense in the gym as anywhere else. So
where do you see me in the office? In a boardroom, it's how you do anything is how you do everything, and. Winning, I like winning. Yeah. Winning is more fun than fun is fun. I think you heard that before. It is. And I like to cast a big shadow to be able to help people, to put people in shade that maybe can't shade themselves. Yeah. It is about supporting others. And my biggest trigger with my daughter, to bring this full circle, is I just don't want her to ever feel the way I did. She knows she's loved. She might be a little too spoiled. You know, she has no want at all in this world. I wanted everything because I didn't have anything. We didn't have food. I didn't have safety. I didn't have clothes. Yep. This kid asks me, "Oh, Dad, can we go to Lululemon today? What do you need now?" You know, and it's not, can I just get shorts? It's, I need Lululemon shorts. And of course, Dad gets them for her. Yeah. So, yes.
Did you make her at least take out the garbage first?
That is her chore. That is cute.
Right,
she has a few things. And my daughter, of course, has to work out. Yeah. So she's in soccer and in swimming. And I said, I just want you to do some core workouts, like 20 minutes on the bike and some abs. She started doing it. She watched her swim time slow down or increase. She's like, Dad, this works. Duh. Boy.
Let's talk about that for a second, because you and I got in this conversation briefly at the gym. So we both get people that communicate to us who want us to help them, mentor them, teach them, whatever, right? And I think we stumbled on the fact that you and I do something very similar, in that we give you a test, and if you pass the test, we'll give you a little more. So let's talk about that for a second, because your daughter is actually doing the work, right? But most of the entrepreneurs that come through your DMs, or people that want to get better at fitness, you tell them to do what, and how many of them actually do it?
Well, it's actually for anything. If they want to get sober, if they want to get off drugs, if they just want to change their trajectory, they're in a bad place. What do they say? To go from a bad place to a better place, you got to go to a worse place. Most dreams start
dark night of the soul.
in hell. Yep. So there are no ways to go but up, but you got to change your environment. Yeah. So the first thing I ask them to do is just go to the gym, and there'll be 4 excuses. I don't have a gym membership. I don't know what to do. And then right away, I know I probably don't have a live one here. But I say, hey, here's what it is. Go to the gym. I'll tell you what to do. All I want you to do is walk on the treadmill, ride the bike. Yeah. You know how to do that. Take a video, take a picture, send it to me, and then we'll do the next thing. And most people don't do it. And that's
why do you think that is?
Well, it's a familiar misery. The familiar misery over the uncomfortable happiness. And believe me, I went storming through the familiar misery. And on the other side of that fear is the life of your dreams, as you've seen. Yeah. You're the same story I do. We all do. So we're just out here just being evangelistas about it and saying, man, be the buffalo, run right straight into that storm. It isn't as bad as you think it is. And once you come out the other side, things start getting amazing. And then you get to be on the Unstoppable show with you and these amazing gentlemen.
Yeah. We got a great team, don't we?
You know, I wouldn't expect anything less. I mean, winning is contagious.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm gonna pivot a little bit. I'm pulling stuff out of the book this entire time, by the way, guys. If you guys have not gotten your own copy of Harder Than Life, I invite you to check it out. You can find it on Amazon for sure. Kelly has a unique way of bringing it into the real. He's very real with his own story. He's very real with the practical takeaways and the principles. But more importantly, he is doing it with unselfish motivation, which is one of the things I love most about you. But one of the things that is in here that I want to talk about. And we actually talked about this on the car or in the truck heading back from the gym back to the hotel. You mentioned a time where you knew you had to change your circle of influence. You knew you had to change the people you were hanging out with and whatnot. In some cases, you had to make a hard decision to let some of those relationships go because they were actually, it was actually going to cost you money, real money, real business hardship. And the one that's comes to mind specifically is the gentleman that you decided not to work with anymore after you gave up drinking.
Yeah. What is it? You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. Mm-hmm. And it's paramount. Mm-hmm. I kind of went into it, and when I really got serious about this was COVID. So it was a lot easier. In Michigan, we were shut down. Mm-hmm. So it was a lot easier to sit at home and not have contact with people. Mm-hmm. But it's also the first time you're facing your feelings, first time you're feeling emotions, you don't know what's going on. You're completely alone. It gets scary.
So pause right there for a second, because I don't know. That's a really good point. And we'll come back to the relationship piece. When it comes down to the first time you face your feelings, I think that's a really, really good sentence there. And I think it's a really good sentence because I don't know that people actually will take what the needed time to truly have a first time to feel their feelings. What is that experience like?
Wow. Good. I haven't shared this. This is a good story. Embarrassing as hell. So I was in Key West, Florida, 2019. Mm-hmm. So New Year's 2019, 2018 into 2019. I cheers somebody, took a big sip of my scotch, set it down, walked away. Haven't looked at it yet. I got a call from a dear friend of mine. Her father just passed away. Funeral's in 2 days. I changed my flight. Got to move home. I'm shaking like a leaf because I went on a bender, like a week-long bender. Really, it was a month-long bender. December, holiday parties. Yeah. I had an idea I was going to quit, but I wasn't sure. And at that very moment, boom, I quit. So fast forward to I'm getting on the plane and I'm having withdrawals because I drank that much at that time. I went out with a bang.
Yeah.
So I was shaking. And I'm getting on this little puddle jumper plane, and I hate flying, even though I've owned my own plane before. But at that time, I'm just shaking and I'm just crying, and they're just emotions are just coming out of me. And I land, and I go home and I shower and I head to this funeral, and it's someone who died too young, friend's father, and I'm sitting in the front, and I just start crying because I'm thinking of my mortality. And I'm thinking, I've wasted so many years of my life with the naughty water and avoiding my feelings. And they just kept coming out. And she's such a good friend of mine that I was going to go to a luncheon after, and I couldn't go. I had to go home and just continue crying. So that was the first time in my entire life that I faced it with zero crutches. And mind you, bad things started. I wrote about it in the book. That was the spiral of bad things starting to happen. My fiance or my girlfriend broke up with me. My COO quit. I mean, it was abandonment after abandonment after abandonment after abandonment. And I'm like, what is going on? And that's when I just kind of looked up at the sky and said, you're not going to break me. Talking to God. And just said, you're not going to break me. You know this. But what in the heck are you trying to teach me right now? And I always carry a gun. I pulled my gun out. I set my gun down and I just sat on the ground and I curled up in a ball and started crying. I'm like, what is going on? And I got a call from a dear friend of mine who knew I was going through it. And he said, I'm coming over. I said, no, don't come over. I'm coming over. And he came over and he looked at me and he goes, get your gym gear on. We're going to the gym. I don't think he knew how low I was at that moment. I thought I was a full-blown alcoholic. I thought my life was over.
I mean, a smile can hide 1,000 fears.
And you know what? It was exactly what I needed. And then my daughter showed up because it was my parenting time. And we cooked dinner. And for that moment, it's what I need. You said it last night about you bought dinner. And you said, I bought dinner because you never know what the other person is. He knew, but I don't think he knew how depth. And then I got a phone call from another dear friend that just said, hey, man, you're not a bad person, you know? And it's funny because this person, I thanked him in my book. He's the guy that moved to Utah, as a matter of fact, was the same person that was there for me when I got arrested in college for selling drugs. He was the same person that was there. He was the same person now. Now he's like, I'm so proud of you. I had him on the podcast. And so my dear friend, Anthony Fracchia, I love him. And my good friend, Jesse Jarvis, I love him. You know who your true friends are when things are tough. And
so now we're making full circle back to relationships. Right?
Yeah. You know,
so let's talk. All right. So, I think I know I can speak for me. I'm pretty sure I can speak for you on this. The more successful I've become on paper, meaning money, stuff, whatever, the more attention I've gotten, and the more attention I've gotten, the more of it has been selfish, meaning people wanting from me without wanting to serve or give or participate. As such, I've gone through several seasons in my personal and professional development over time, the last 10 years probably, of trying to really figure, I gave you one of my thought processes last night, but of really trying to dissect who deserves to be in my inner circle and who doesn't need to be anywhere clear to my, or anywhere near my, exactly. So I'm curious to know, what is your approach into surrounding yourself with great people, which in turn creates greatness for them and you?
I have a very easy, foolproof plan, and it works every time. The number one standard is, are they honest with themselves? And this is in a business perspective.
I've never heard that before.
Or if it's, and it's to themselves, because most people can be honest to you. I can keep my promise to you because you're watching. Can you keep your promise to yourself? And what that means is, if you're going to, I'm going to go to the gym today, you go. I'm going to get this work done today, and you do it. I'm going to go pick up my kid on time, and you do it. Because if you can keep a promise to me, but not to yourself, you'll inevitably let me down.
Yeah.
So the number one thing is I watch and see, do their actions align with their words? And if they do, we go to the next level. And it's really the book, The Four Agreements, is I live and die by that. It's, you know, always do your best, never take anything personal. And don't make assumptions. That's a big one. And then assumptions
can create a lot of emotional pain.
Yes, because assumptions are. I've always say this. Sadhguru said this: thoughts are magical eyes. We have made something up in our head, and I just heard this from. I forget who it was. But it's the meaning that our mind puts on anything that makes or breaks you. If you put a positive meaning on it, you're unstoppable. If you put a negative, you're gonna you're gonna perish. So I that's the easiest and quickest one, and I do that in business and a personal relationship, and it's very easy. Because you leave a business meeting, there's action items, and a lot of times it's right. They have an action item, and I try to do them right away because things happen. Business happens. Life happens. So I try to do it right away. But if they don't follow up, and you see it a lot of times, you ask me to do something, I do it. You know, and I got to give you, I know everybody knows this about you, but I'm going to give you a shameless plug in that you didn't know me. This is the first time we've officially met in person.
Outside of DMs and text messages. Yeah.
And we did the video call. You have been kind and giving and loving and sending me text messages and unprovoked ones. I didn't reach out to you and you reach back. If I do, you always answer, but you know exactly when to say something. And I know you're probably watching the social media to make sure that I am who I say I am, but you send me things unprovoked that are perfect. So I'm grateful for you. That's what I'm getting to. And you're a good person. And you not only are aligned with your words, you go over and above. And I appreciate it. And so let's talk about that vacuum. So once you rid yourself, I want to say this a more elegant way. Once you not make yourself unavailable to people that are negative. We'll use John Gordon's energy vampires. If you get rid of the energy vampires, you create space for the amazing Stephen Scoggins to come in. And it's amazing that when you aren't available for negativity, the vacuum sucks in positivity.
That's so good. I was actually just thinking that too. You know, part of my bullseye approach, we call it the hedge of protection, but it's just the bullseye that you can rank people. But part of that whole process is watching that. Does the actions match the words? So that's in total alignment. And then something else that I started doing about 2 years ago, you just spoke on, which is the energy vampires. I actually started paying attention to how I felt after I hung out with that person.
Yeah.
And if I felt drained or had a lower, like almost like I had a lower self-esteem or felt ridiculed or felt whatever, as quick as humanly possible, I began to pull away from that relationship and put barriers in place, different stair steps.
Hold on before you do. I want to add one more. I thought about this too, and this is probably true for you. Do they ask for something or do they offer something first? I am big. What did I do?
Almost everybody asks me for stuff.
What can I help you with? What can I do? How can I serve you? I am almost but that's been programmed in me. I'm almost uncomfortable taking something from somebody. Yeah. So I have to give first. I like that. Yeah. Now you're right. Most people do. Now, is it a harmless ask? It
varies. I mean, I think most people, they're asking because they're trying to solve a personal need of some kind. And to them, that personal need is the most important thing that's to them. However, all because I may have a resource does not make it where it's someone else is entitled to the resource. I actually appreciate people that I see earn it.
Yep.
I have no problem blessing people that I see who are really, really trying and really going after it. I have a hard time blessing people who just ask me for stuff. And then I give them a little test, a little thing. Hey, do this. I need you to level up. I need you to be more diligent. I need you to, do a number of different, a number of small things, right? You mentioned earlier, how you do one thing is how you do everything, right? So how you, in some cases, like how clean is your desk? Is it a disarray? Is it a hot mess? Because if your desk is a disarray and it's a hot mess, then you're not organized as a human being.
I look at people's cars, just so you know. I always do. Is it clean? Has it been washed?
I got rid of all the caffeine kickers before you got them.
I don't know. The caffeine I'm all about. I run on evil intent and caffeine.
Yeah.
But, the other thing too is I hired an emotional coach when I was in the thralls. I was doing talk therapy, hypnotherapy, and I hired an emotional coach.
Yeah.
And I was grinding and working out daily. Whereas during the pandemic, most people were day drinking and this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. I grind.
Netflix.
I got better. I was going on daily.
I did an entire video series during COVID where people were like, "What should I do?" I said, "Increase your value." I'm like, what does that mean? Learn a new skill, practice a new trade, do something different. Do not sit there and watch Netflix.
I wrote about it in the book, man. We went through at National Technology Management. We did every customer's network because they weren't at the office. It was perfect time. When the pandemic lifted, we had massive success. And it was both personal and professional, which is why I'm drawn to you because you state the obvious and you do it so much better where to really achieve professional progress and success, work on your personal first. Although too often we think, if I just make $1 million, I'll be happy. No. You wouldn't have Elvis Presley killing himself. You wouldn't have Prince. You wouldn't have Michael Jackson. You wouldn't hear of multimillionaires hanging themselves and killing themselves because they just don't work on their personal development. But I want to tell you something about that is what she said, what this emotional coach was. It's EQ. If anybody isn't working on their EQ, not IQ, EQ, emotional intelligence, you need to. And it's just about how you process those triggers and deal with life.
Yeah.
We all need to have that.
Yeah.
So what she said to me, and I was going through it. I had my ex-wife and my ex-girlfriend getting together and really taking a shot at me. They came after my daughter. They came after my sobriety. And one thing that the unstoppable, doubt me. That'll be fun. Because if you give me an enemy, a real enemy, they're done. Don't stand on the tracks when the train's coming through. So what I do is I'll perceive an enemy. Like, you remember, what's that? The Water Boy? Where he says, he does these things in his head where somebody's going after his mama. So I got to do something like that. I go, they're coming after me. They're coming after me. So,
almost killed Colonel Sanders.
Where I was getting at was she said, assume positive intent. I said, how in the F am I supposed to assume positive intent when these two ladies are gunning for me? And she said, she put me in the never make assumptions. She put myself in there. They were scared to death. So they were crabs in a bucket watching me ascend, trying to pull me back down. And they figured, hey, if he ascends to this level, we're no longer going to be seen.
I'm glad you brought that up because I know people that are close to me.
But wait, assume positive intent. Always. Now, it may be crazy, but it's serving them in some way. I just want to make sure that people... So if you think somebody's coming after you, there's a reason. It's the self-preservation. They may not be far along in the journey as you are. It's just when someone's coming after you, there's a reason for it. So that's what I use with all those naysayers. I know that they need love. And if they saw me in person, I would hug them. And I would, and I'm not a bad person. I'm not doing this to get Facebook famous or social media famous. I'm doing this for charity. So come at me, bro, and I'm gonna love you up and anybody else. And if they think that I'm taking steroids, come after me. Come work out with me. I'll be there 5 a.m.
Well, to that point, I know I've got people close to me right now that are all in the process or about to have big life transitions. And they went to go talk to their families about, hey, this is a huge opportunity for me. I'm, you know, whatever. And the families have basically all but said, hey, I'm praying against this. I'm praying against this. And I can, you know, I remember when I was going through my development, you know, I told you last night, my dad's first response to me is, what the hell are you doing? You got no business starting a business. Right. And I've learned that those that love us most are, in their mind, they think they're loving us by trying to
protect us.
Exactly.
Not realizing. I just want to. I want to point out this distinction. Family holding you down is much different than naysayers. So let's draw the distinction there.
Okay.
Family is really, that's an easier one to assume positive intent. They just don't want you to be hurt. They're not meaning malicious. Most. We all have that drunk uncle that's you're an idiot.
Well, I mean, at least in my family, there was that, but there was also this mentality. And I've said this before on numerous shows and stuff. Of this concept that Scoggins don't get ahead, they get by. You know, I've mentioned,
you said that to me. I forgot about that.
I've mentioned it before. You know, I was the first. There's a couple of other Scoggins now that are becoming pretty successful in their own entrepreneurial journeys, which is exciting. But I was the first one in 400 years, right? That took the risk, took the gamble, and then fought through the adversity to get there. But I did that by watching the other Scoggins, if you will, ahead of me, try and fail for various decisions, right? Alcohol was one of them, right? And the reason I say that is because you've got the situation where I believe when the family is trying to, in theory, impede your progress, they're trying to either protect you or they're scared you're going to outpace them. And both can be true at the same time.
Absolutely.
Right? The trick is being able to trust yourself and love yourself enough to make a wise decision for yourself. Because you and I both know that to build multi-million dollar, we're talking high multi-million dollar businesses, you have to basically say yes 9 times out of 10 when everybody else is saying no. For various, this could happen. Well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if it freaking works? And I get to bless everybody with $1 million paydays.
Well, I'm going to throw you something. You know where that came from? Where the trust in yourself came from? Was going through those tough times as a child.
Yeah.
I know I survived 100% of it. My stepdad tried to drown me. I survived. I somehow, he was drowning me in a tub, and I somehow reached down when I was passing out and grabbed the freaking, the sink drain and undid it. That's what saved my life. My sister walked in and punched my mom in the face and pulled my lifeless body out. I've been run over. I've been shot at, and things keep happening. But I know I'm going to survive every single thing. So that's where things were happening for you. It made you tougher. Maybe some of these people haven't been put in these ridiculous, tough situations to trust themselves, because that's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to come out smelling like a rose every time, or I'm going to learn and I'm going to pivot really fast. And I would bet the same is true for you. I have unbelievable trust in myself. I got another question for you.
Oh, okay. All right. You got a question for me. Let's go.
Another one. Sorry.
All right. No,
I was a small kid all the way through. I didn't blow up.
I was normal till I was 15. Then I stopped growing for some reason. I don't know why.
So I was called Smurf. Remember the Smurfs?
Yeah.
So I was called Smurf, and I would beat up anybody that would call me that. And that made
they always called me Mighty Mouse. But
so
same thing.
Okay, Mighty Mouse. That was my question. So,
Mighty
but
Mouse.
didn't that make you tougher?
It did. It did. You know, it's funny. This is one of those things that I learned. It served me for a while and then doesn't serve me anymore. So I let go of it. Is the situation of having to prove that I could outperform anyone in front of me, or because I was small, because I'm 5'5", like I'm not super huge. All of that were, people that were, in theory, they were 6'1" and all this kind of stuff. But then I stumbled across a scripture in the Bible, and I talked about a little bit of the Bible last night. One of the things I stumbled across is it's 1 Samuel 16:17, I think it is. It's either 16:17 or 16:14. And it says, it was talking about King David. So King David was obviously the 8th child of Jesse, and he was the forgotten son. So Nathan, who's the prophet, comes over and he's supposed to anoint the new king of Israel after Saul. And he goes through all of his sons. He goes through all these different sons, right? He goes, "You're missing a son. Where's the other son?" "Oh, you mean David, the shepherd boy. Well, he's out shepherding the sheep. Bring me David." And of course, he comes in. David's covered in manure and dust and dirt and got a stick and a staff and whatever. And he looks over at Jesse and he says, "He's the one." And Jesse's like, What do you mean he's the one? He's the one the Lord wants to anoint." Well, I don't get it. These other guys they're big, they're strong, they're successful. And Nathan says something very interesting in 1 Samuel. He says, "You judge outward men, you judge the appearance of men and the outward skin, so to speak. God judges the essence of the heart." So God chooses leaders based on the heart, not based on the accomplishment. However, if you have somebody with the right heart, you'll always have the right accomplishment.
Love it. You see that in sports all the time. I'll take somebody with the high motor, high energy over the talent.
Yeah.
Because hard work beats talent all day long when it's not applied.
Well, because talent that's not applied correctly without hard work becomes arrogance.
Waste. Becomes a waste.
Yeah.
It's sad. So that's where the tough, harder than life worked for me. You can't rattle me. It's just not going to happen. The whole world can be falling apart, and I'm like, let's go.
A few more years, we'll have AI Terminators running around here, so you'll see how that shakes out. But
our Terminator would be cool.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
How you make it a little taller?
That's right. Can I get a little 2-inch boost, please?
Yes, please.
All right, so I got another important question. I think is powerful. A lot of the things that hold people back, from my perspective, is they are on the precipice of big opportunities, but they have a choice in the moment to either stay in what they've always known or take advantage of a massive opportunity. In building a successful multi-million-dollar business yourself and becoming super successful yourself, I assume, just because we're similar, that you had to take big risk when everybody else thought you were crazy. Is that true?
Well, people think I'm crazy already. I mean, you probably think I'm crazy. The night is darkest just before dawn. So, big risk, big reward.
So how do you decide? How do you make the decision whether or not to do the big thing or stay with the little thing?
Well, nowadays I got a leadership team that is always governing me. But when it was just me and a few people, I just took that risk because the aforementioned, I trusted myself. I always knew I could get myself out of anything. I am stubborn. I do see things through a little bit farther than they should. But now I pivot a lot faster, and I'm not afraid to throw a bad idea out right away.
Yeah.
But I now, and I'm older, what do they say? Experience comes from wisdom. Wisdom comes from making bad decisions.
Yeah, that's the truth.
I've made a lot of bad decisions, and I've learned from them. In business, there's always been something aligned with me. I try something, I throw a lot of energy and effort at it, and it works. It's funny how you just talked about effort. If you really go gung ho 110% into something, usually it's gonna pay off. Not just I dabbled my foot in it. And you saw the way I work out today. If I launch something new in IT, I'm not half-assing it. I'm gonna go in gusto. Now, we may go out and do something crazy like the Bud Light people did with the thing. And the other thing too is once that happens, I'm going to own it 100%. I'm not going to do damage control. It's wow, I made a bad decision.
Yeah.
I apologize.
I've made some pretty bad ones that had big zeros. Yeah.
Yeah, they cost a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also made some that have made lots of zeros.
Yeah.
And it's just another decision. So I'm always moving forward, and I'm not. But nowadays we were able to get so much data that you can. I'm not saying paralysis through analysis, but give me some data to support it. I don't make decisions based on emotions. I don't make decisions based on facts, and I don't even look at trends until I can see the quantifiable data. Sure, you're very much like that too.
Data-driven decisions.
You know, it's like, okay, I see this jump, but what did we do? What happens? And you know, every time we're sitting down with our marketing team for the IT from National Technology Management, they look at all these things, and I go, hey, here's the problem. We did there was a huge outage that day, so a lot of people went to the website, and they're like, oh, and, you know, they look at. And I said, always remember the bell curve. You throw out the top 10% and the bottom 10%, and we analyze the 80%. That's where all the data is. So my staff always, my dad was, you know, and my dad had died at 46 from drinking and drugs. So he thought I would learn, but he was brilliant. He was a lot like what we were talking about. Just he was too smart for his own good. Things came quick. He was brilliant. His IQ was through the roof. So he used to quiz me on math and be able to do math equations in his head so fast. I'm like, how the hell do you do this? Now I'm doing it. Yeah. So people ask me questions, you know, and when you're in a business meeting, especially if it involves a lot of zeros, you got to be able to do math in your head real fast. And I'm like, and I say it, and the people look at me like, how did you just come up with that? It's like, but I need to make a decision.
Right, so this is where we're getting. We're definitely going the entrepreneur route because a huge chunk of our audiences are either aspiring, early stage, or scaling entrepreneurs. Okay. And this is the feedback that they probably don't get. I know for one of the things, like one of the difficulties here being in this marketplace where we're currently at is I am the only real I don't mean this in an arrogant way at all. I'm the only real entrepreneur that I personally know. I know there's more in the marketplace, and the reason I know there's more in the marketplace is because real entrepreneurs do a lot of things in obscurity and isolation. Right? We're behind the scenes, we're doing it, and then all of a sudden it looks, you know, and I'll give you a recent example. Okay. You've now been to our events building. You've now seen our virtual studio. I walked in one afternoon with our team and said, hey, I want to build a virtual event or a virtual studio. Okay, where are you gonna put it at? Oh, we're gonna put it over here in the corner. Huh? There's not enough room for that over there. Well, yeah, there is. Well, but I don't know how that's going to work. We'll figure it out. What do you mean we'll figure it out? Like, we need to know how it's going to work before we do it. I'm like, no, we'll make it work, kind of thing. And of course, lo and behold, you walk in today and there's a virtual studio next to us.
You got to be careful about people like that. We just talked about that. There's certain people that have a problem for every solution, and so part of my emotional intelligence as a better leader is I go back to my team and I say, give me a solution before you give me any problem. And that was hard when I was building the business because I think so fast. People would come to me and I would give them the answer and I'd realize, darn it, why did I do that? Some of this stuff is so obvious to me because I can see the trend before they see it. So, but it's like parenting. You got to let them figure it out because they'll grow. And a real leader is elevating other people. So I do a lot of, well, what do you think? What are you seeing here? And then sometimes they can't see it. And I've been doing this 25 years. Yeah. There's
one of the things that I've learned, I'm definitely a more visionary and strategic guy. Like I can create a strategy. I can make myself look Excel rich all day long, numbers and zeros and formulas and all kinds of stuff. And I can put a business model together. All right. I can do all that. What I've realized is in building a business you have, there used to be something called thinking wavelengths. It's a very simple tool. In fact, we used to do it a lot with our own team, but you have grinders, minders, keepers, finders, and theorists. Okay. Grinders are widget people. All they want to do is the same thing every single day. They want you to tell me exactly what you want me to do. You want me to grab the coffee. You want me to put the foam in it. You want me to firm it all up. Here you go. And I'm completely happy. Okay, those grinders.
Hey, to use the Caddyshack line,
Yeah, sure.
the world needs ditch diggers.
Yeah.
Those are ditch diggers.
Yeah, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Nothing.
You know, their values are just different, okay? And then you got the minders, and the minders are people who they can do the task. They can see some openings and some holes that need to be filled. They a lot of times become like managers, like a store manager or something like that. And they typically stop about that level, right? Because they're not predisposed to think strategy and vision and all that kind of stuff. Then you have keepers. Keepers are unique in that they can speak visionary language, but they can do tactical action, which means that they become the translator to the minders and the grinders.
We call that integrators in our company.
I was going to say there's integrators.
Yeah, I break that down in the Heart of Life book. We use this operating system called entrepreneurial operating system. And it's a blueprint of how we run the company. So this is it's the fail to plan to fail. Yeah. So you got to have a plan.
Well, this is why I bring this up is because I think you realize, like I have, that certain key team members have to be in place. And I test out as a finder. Okay. So, I'm like an 8 on the scale on the spectrum, which means I'm strategic, I'm visionary based. I see things 5 years ahead, let alone I don't often see things 5 minutes ahead. I'm not going to focus on the problems that are going to come in my way. I'm going to focus on the opportunities and the solutions. That's just my focus. Your grinders and your minders are going to focus on problems, right? And that's okay. Okay. Your keepers are finding out ways to build bridges, integrators, if you will, build bridges between the two. And your theorists are just pie in the sky. Their head's always in the clouds. One of the most notable theorists was Albert Einstein. Okay. Created the theory of relativity, which then became mathematical equations for all kinds of things, rocket science and all kinds of stuff. But he never actually tactically did anything.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? What I've learned in this whole spectrum, at least for me, is I have to objectively look at my teams and ask myself, do I have a keeper in between myself and the grinders and the minders? Because if not, I'm always going to rub the grinders and the minders. They're going to think I'm crazy. Like, what is wrong with this guy? What? You can't build a live event center in the middle of nowhere. Like, why not? You see what I'm saying? Like there's this process of understanding. So the question is how do you decipher what team members you need in what capacity?
I have a question, or I have a thing that I always say to that was, what would it look like if? Mm-hmm. So what would it look like if we had a virtual studio? Mm-hmm. Let's just walk through that. Humor me on that. So it just gets everybody kind of in the open your mindset. That's one of the biggest things that
I don't do. So that is something I can learn to do.
It is. It's just.
I'm like, we're gonna do it. Watch it. It's gonna happen.
I used to do that too.
Yeah.
And watching that not work, I pivot. What would it look like? What would it take? Imagine just hypothetically walk me through that. So, it's I just said to you earlier how when you create space that you get rid of negativity, positivity fills it up. So I wrote about it in the book too, and I'm sorry to keep plugging the book, but I just wrote about it.
No, I mean
there's a lady.
Everybody needs to grab a copy of the book. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, there's a lady that runs my company that is a gift from God. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I hired her not knowing there was no position open. I had no money for her. Mm-hmm. I hired her, and now I love her, and I can't live without her. Mm-hmm. She happens to not drink as well. It's relevant only because you start watching how people live their life. We talked about what makes successful people. You see correlations. Mm-hmm. Do they take care of themselves physically and mentally? Mm-hmm. Do they take care of their children? Do they take care of their house? Do they take care of their cars? How you do anything is how you do everything. It works.
Yeah.
So she came in. I hired her. There's no spot. And I just started talking to her, and I said, what do you know about EOS? Entrepreneurial Operating System. And she said, oh, we ran it at our last company. I'm a whiz at it. I said, cool, you're going to help me implement it. And right when I did that, the guy that was in the position where she should be quits. It's funny how that works.
Yeah.
Going to be exposed. So what EOS does for us, and this is all in the book, and I share it with everybody because why not? It works. I've sent it to all the IT companies. Nobody wants to copy it. So we have the entire company maps out their org chart, their accountability chart, what our goals are, what we're going to get accomplished, and there is a blueprint for it.
Yeah.
But I tried to do that several times, but it wasn't until Chrissy came along that God delivered her. And it came from out of nowhere. I got an email from a customer that said, hey, there's a friend of mine that's in your business and she wants to switch companies. She's being overworked. And then I interviewed her and we just saw an alignment. And now I don't even make decisions anymore. Every once in a while, I will say, guys, so it's funny. The same thing just happened. A sales guy just somebody sent me an erroneous
I
email.
brought in a brand new CFO recently. He's killed it.
And I just I sent it to her and I said, you're going to laugh at this. Something has the same feeling of you. Even though we just hired salespeople, something's telling me we got to call this guy. And she said, done, say no more. I don't make any edicts, and she shoots down 95% of what they do. So there's a
if you're an entrepreneur, you're having an idea about every 5 minutes. I've already had
visionary.
16 since we've been sitting here.
That's called a visionary. I know I want to start a business right now. Like, oh. So I do want to talk about, there's a visionary and an integrator. So I sit back and you asked me to have a journal next to my bed, and I always have a journal because I have ideas. You go through my phone, I got notes nonstop. I'm always thinking of something weird. So who knows what's going to be a good idea. But let's talk about what new businesses are. We're brick and mortar. We have a brick and mortar business. A lot of businesses are online. What do you see? What would be the advice that the Unstoppable Show would give to the entrepreneur who has a safe job right now, wants to start a side hustle? I'll tell you, on the plane over here, I had a gentleman that worked for Coca-Cola. He was higher up in Coca-Cola. He was on his way to India, as a matter of fact, to do some innovation. And he said, what would you say? I want to do this side hustle. He was a CFO, and he's not the CFO, but he's a finance guy.
Yeah.
So he said, what would you say? I want to do this side hustle to teach people how to manage money. What would your answer have been? So what I'm saying is, you have a safe job. You have this passion, this side hustle. What would you say to do, and then B, what would you do to be successful?
So I would say, first of all, business is actually easy. And the reason is because you only have to master 5 drivers: development, sales, fulfillment, finance, and retention. That's it.
Sales, development, finance.
So developing the idea, the concept, the core values, your personal leadership development plan. This is where some of the process mapping could start. It's mainly in the fulfillment process, but it's creating a runway. So the development process is getting your idea out of your head and into something that's tangible. It doesn't, and it's going to be a beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, beta 4. It's not going to be like our live events arm of our business will look very different 5 to 10 years from now. It'll be larger. We'll probably be in a larger facility. I mean, there's going to be a lot of different things.
Well, technology is going to be different.
Exactly. Sales, but developing the idea, the concept, and everything doesn't change, right? However, if you take the next level, which is sales, you have to figure out how to position it, how to price it, how to and what method you're going to take it to the marketplace. And then you have to take it to the marketplace. You have to test it. You have to make sure it works, make sure people want it, which most people don't do. Most people don't go create a product or service to solve a problem. They create a product or service to make money. And because if you create a product or service just to make money, it's almost guaranteed you're not going to. But if you create a product or service to solve a problem that other people are having, then it's just a matter of how many problems can you solve.
You were so brilliant. If you ever see me looking to the left, I'm starting to think. I look more to the left when I'm having a conversation with you than anybody I've ever had. You provoke me and push me to be a better everything. And I just appreciate it. There's no coasting with you, and I love it.
I appreciate that. The next piece is the fulfillment piece, right? It's how are you going to serve that client with that product, good, or service that's going to solve that problem, but in such a way that they experience excellence in the ordinary every step of the way. I'll give you a perfect example. Okay. I mentioned this to you when we were at the gym that, we decided to go, we had a virtual podcast set up. We were like, let's do this live. Let's do fun, right? This was like a week ago, maybe a week and a half ago. You're like, I'll book the flight. I'll do whatever.
Did you think I was going to do it?
Of course I did.
That's people. See, there, right there. Yeah. What I was looking for when I asked you that question was just progress over perfection. You're good. Just start.
Yeah.
So, I could have sat there and, well, when's the date? When's this? I said, man, I'm going to be in Florida. Let's do this. And you went boom, boom. And I booked it and we were done. And then we really didn't even know. The podcast changed time so many times. We didn't even really know until like yesterday when it was going to be. And here we are.
Yeah.
Just get started.
Yeah.
And good
But-
things usually
but
happen.
to
That's
that-
how I started my freaking IT company. Literally, I
Yeah.
had a credit card on my dining room table.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have meetings with customers at my dining room table, and I was embarrassed. And they would laugh. They're like, "We love coming here. It's relaxing." And I still have that dining room table, and I won't
Nice.
get rid of it. I started with a little computer, and
Now
the
you,
rest
got,
is.
now you have at least 2 monitors now, probably.
Well, we just revamped our office. I'll be posting it. It's done. I actually get to see it for the first time on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And it really looks like what an IT company should look like. And I'm going to have healthy lunches, and we, of course, I'm going to have like caffeine galore.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I'm going to touch back to the excellence in the ordinary piece, right? Because you and I both believe in that. And most successful entrepreneurs that I know believe in excellence in the ordinary. And I actually covered this with my team on Friday, the big construction company this last week. It's simple as, I know you're coming. Okay. I know there's a short window to get as much prep work done as possible. But when you were coming, in order to have you create a raving fan of what we do, now you already were a believer in kind of how I operate and what we do, which was amazing. But at the same time, I wanted to give you the same level of experience I would give any other podcast guest that I invite to be here live with me. Right. So I mentioned this to you before. We condensed it so we didn't get to do the whole runway.
I feel cheated.
Yeah, that's right. I guess you have to
But you know what? I
again.
feel loved. That's all that matters to me. I feel wanted and loved, and I feel seen and heard, and that's important.
Yeah.
I'm going to squeeze you when I'm done here. So
that's
I get the
cool.
Siegel squeeze.
That's right. I break my back. Thanks for that. But I pay attention to you. You're walking into the studio. Is the desk clean? Is the sound working? Are the cameras aimed correctly? Is the lighting good? I'm noticing every stinking cord that I can see that's not tidied and put away that probably other people would probably not worry about. You probably haven't paid any attention to it, but that's excellence in the ordinary.
Did you see when I walked around? Did you see me when you showed me around? I'm pointing. I'm grabbing little wires.
Oh, I saw you do that with our IT
Because
part.
I bury everything.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I said, I'm going to send my team down here and fix some things up. You should see.
Yeah.
Our network racks are impeccable because it takes us seconds. If we're doing your IT and you have a problem, I could send Kyle back there and say, hey, push this, unplug this wire and plug it right back in and fix that spaghetti mess that I just outed you. I apologize.
You're not right. I told you I didn't do it.
That you have back there is somebody's got to come out. And meanwhile, you're down, and then you see all the inch of dust on everything. It needs to be electronics vacuumed because that creates heat. How you do anything is how you do everything. If I walked in there and the guys know, we strive for excellence, and we strive for perfection, but we settle on excellence. And we're not going to make the same mistake twice. We're not perfect. We cannot achieve perfection. But we're going to strive for it. And you make these predictable, repeatable patterns, and it's how I live my life. Every day, I do the same thing.
I know I have leaders when they start to care about the same things I care about. When we start talking about when I don't have to walk into a room and see wires or whatever, when I've got people that are bought into a vision, when I've got people that are bringing new ideas and new concepts, like, hey, what if we did this? Hey,
that's the culture.
Yeah, and I'm very blessed. I have a huge chunk of that for sure.
You can't get to your success level without having it.
Thanks,
just so you know.
Appreciate
And then
that.
at the end of the day, too, you're going to see, and I was talking about it with the Coca-Cola executive on the plane, and he said, only a third of the people have come back to work, and they're about to drop the hammer and get everybody back because culture is eroding. We can still get things done remotely, but you cannot implement culture and energy.
Oh, for sure. And then I've also learned that not every team member has the capacity to work from home with the same level of integrity.
He brought up a very good point. The lines, you said integrity, I say the lines get blurred between work and home. And I don't want that. The reason why Chrissy works for me, and she's going to hear this, is her last company was working her 80 hours a week. And I said, if we're working 80 hours a week, something is terribly wrong. Something is wrong, and we've got to fix it. And to this day, if she works 45 hours, I'm wondering why. Because we have a plan. We have a process for everything. We do not have fires. We're very tough with our boundaries and our standards. A lot of times we say no where most people will say yes. Because in cybersecurity, if I allow
You just brought up
something,
a great point. Boundaries and standards. Boundaries and standards have to govern the business operations.
listen to what we're talking about. Business, it's also personal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised you haven't said that yet, because it's what makes you successful in one arena
saving
makes
it
you
for you.
successful in the other arena.
Yeah.
It's balance, it's moderation, it's enforcing your standards, it's saying no.
So let's go back to the guy that you were talking about. Hey, you got this guy who says, hey, I want to start a business. I want to have a side hustle, right? So I gave you the 5 drivers that at a super top level. Everything we're talking about fits right smack dab in one, if not all of those buckets,
Absolutely.
right? So if I'm in their shoes, and I'm sure you do this too, I create a mock-up. Like I want to have a basic roadmap of how I'm going to do whatever. You know, I've shared with you, we're considering having a larger event center in a different location. I know there's going to be expenditures and cost and stuff associated with it. I have to decide if I want to, fully invest in it, right? But I've already created various levels of revenue mock-ups. I've created various levels of cost structure. I do what my COGS are going to be, cost of goods sold. I have an idea of my expected revenue. Like, I'm not just going out to open a new building and start putting technology in there, right? The tricky part for me has always been communicating that to my team. I may study something for 3 to 6 months and they think it happened yesterday.
And and then when you explain it, you skip right to the end, right? So do you take them through this? That's why I do the same thing.
I have tried really hard to begin to take
You
the
gotta take the baby
team.
steps.
So
They'll be like, Kelly, you just went from 0 to 60, and you didn't tell us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm like, sorry.
Yeah, so this change that I'm considering making for the Scoggins International business, specifically the media, the events, and the empowering education. It's a substantial change in location, substantial change in revenue, substantial change in proximity to thought leaders, substantial change in a lot of different things, a lot of pros. Okay. There's some cons. My team has to consider relocating. I have to consider relocating. We all have to consider what that means to our families and our friends. And we have to think about, okay, is the opportunity realistic? And to your point earlier, one of the things that I tried to do earlier this week is sit down with a couple of my key folks and sit down with them and say, let me show you how this is going to work. Let me show you, I'm going to give you the worst case scenario. I'm going to give you the best case scenario, and we'll probably land somewhere in the middle, right? Especially out of the gate. And I remember, I'll never forget this. One of the things that I've begun doing recently with people that have invested a lot of time, energy, and talent with me specifically, and are going on a journey with me, because there's going to be times where I'm pre-revenue, meaning I'm investing my own personal money to create something special that only allows me to cover my expenses at a bare minimum before I can actually go and bless the teams, because I like to bless people once I'm up and running. And we started looking at what's called dividend-based phantom stock plans, right? So it's as if they own equity in the business. They don't technically own full equity, but they have stock in the business at a phantom level, but allows them to get dividends on the success of the business. So we started running through the model of what that looks like and what our average ticket value is. So our average live event. So you come to me and you say, hey, Scoggins, I want you to help me create a signature live event. So when everybody leaves my live event, they have one amazing time and always want to come back, right? You hand us the keys. We build out the live event. We do the production. We do the picking up of the airport. We do the catering. We do the digital media. We'll create reels out of stuff. We'll create sizzle things out of stuff. All of that, right? You pay us one lump sum fee. We knock it out of the park. We did it for Ed Milet for his book launch. When we go and do those types of things, we're doing that as a turnkey service, but that average ticket's going to be between $50,000 and $100,000. Okay, for a one-day experience. Okay, on the surface, you think, man, that's a lot of money. Until I back you into how much money you're going to make. One, which is like 18 times more than I'm making on the deal, and two, more importantly, if you were to do everything a la carte, you're going to spend about $75,000 on a $50,000 ticket because of our embedded technology and stuff, okay? The reason I'm saying all of this is because, to your point, I think sometimes it makes sense to fully lay out the program to your team. That was the first time that I can honestly think where I did my best to walk them through, this is how we're going to make money and this is why it will work.
Oh, it'll work because there's nothing like it out there. So, and you're going to see where the marketplace is going is virtual, and it's wrong. Because there's nothing. Look, in 10 seconds, we realized on our virtual podcast that we need to be in person. There's nothing like this.
Yeah.
Now, there's certain parameters that prohibit you from having. That's why I like the virtual boards on the side of your venue. Venue, because you can, for people that just absolutely can't get away. It's just impossible. You do it less money, and they can join virtually. So I think that it's brilliant. And then I did the math. I went to the Arte Syndicate with Andy Frisella and Ed Milet in Nashville. And I did the real quick math of just the people that were there. They made $1 million that day. Made $1 million. And Ed's going to tell you, no, Kelly, it was 2. Yeah. Because it was $1 million a piece. And there's money in this. And the beauty part about it is they're helping people. You know, I left away that show. I still remember Andy's conversation. He ad-libbed it. It was talking about what happens when you die. And he brought it down to still have the notes from that. So I got my money's worth. Now, what I went there for was to see if I belonged, to be completely blunt. This was October last year.
And what'd you find?
Oh, I'm coming. The next time, I'll be on stage. Because the other 2 people that they had come on, I got a better, I'm more commanding. I got to earn my stripes, and I will. And I want people to know, I'm not asking. Have I asked you for anything yet? No. I just want your love. And I'll earn that too.
You don't have to earn it. It's already freely given.
Hey.
I'm a Jesus guy. Jesus gives love for free.
So I would tell you that there's no other place like that. You've already done one successful one with arguably the grand poobah himself, Ed Milet.
Yeah.
So he's already writing his second book, right? Or the third book now. So here we go again. And, you know, we're talking about it now. Let's get the word out there. And I love those live events. Yeah. I've tried the virtual events. I can't. You just get distracted. My daughter comes home. The dog barks. The freaking Amazon shows up, and you're just not there. Now, if I had no other way to do it, and you wanted me to speak, I'd speak that way. But to attend that, it's just not going to get the same. There's nothing like these live events. You know, I haven't been to a Tony Robbins event, but I hear that they're amazing. Yeah, I've seen the Netflix.
They call him a showman. He's a showman.
But even I've heard, has been doing more virtual stuff.
He's been doing a lot more virtual in the last couple of years. I think because he realized, number one, you can help more people that way, and it's actually a whole lot less expensive. Yeah.
Well, I think I've heard too, he doesn't appear as much. And he's getting older, and he's not the healthiest of people, but it is what it is. But I heard that he even has live events that he doesn't speak the entire time. Sometimes he's just piped in, which, hey man, as long as you're there, whatever works. If people are leaving empowered, then do it. I think this event center is great. I think you're right a little bit about the being in Raleigh. It's a little bit tough. I mean, I had to take a connector to get here. Somehow I got a direct flight home, but to get here, I had to go through Atlanta. You know, wherever I don't want to spill any beans. I don't know what's out there, but
we have plans.
I think that I like what you have planned. Listen, you can never go wrong in Florida. Everybody
loves friggin' hot.
Everybody loves to go. That's what people love.
Yeah,
everybody loves to go to Florida. Well, dude, I left Florida to come here.
You came back to Florida.
It was 95 degrees in Florida. It was 100 here. I first thing you text me like, "Hey, Cal, I know you got to be getting close." I replied, 100 freaking degrees. What are you doing? You with no hair, it's easy. My hair goes everywhere.
Yeah. So, oh man. All right, I'm gonna
wait. There's one thing we talk about: family, man. Yeah. That's what makes you special. You can't call these guys family. It's in my core values. It's on our walls. Everybody is family. And I will tell you, if you don't act as family, sometimes you're not going to like family, but you're going to support them. And if we don't feel supported, and you don't, and you lied, we're not going to lie. We exit you out.
In your culture, this is one. I want to give this to the entrepreneurs specifically. Family cultures are very hard to scale past 9 figures. Not impossible, just difficult. And here's why. Because you go from family to dysfunctional family back to family. And most businesses never make it through the dysfunctional family. They blur the line so much that they can't actually have the accountability and responsibility structure they need to hold people accountable. I'm going to tell you right now, one of the biggest problems I've had building businesses is holding on to people too long.
Yeah. It's hard to let family go.
Yeah.
And I've done it before. I think I put it in the book. I had a gentleman that got a little legal trouble, and I helped him get through it. And then when I got him back on his feet, I terminated him. And he said, whoa. And I said, I couldn't terminate you at that time. It would have sent you spiraling. Now I've got you back on your feet. And then I ended up running him into an event, an IT event.
Yeah.
And he calls me, can I talk to you? And I was like, I thought he wanted to fight me. And he comes over and gives me a hug. And he says, since you did that, I got married. I bought a house. I started a business. I love you. Thank you.
Yeah. We call those necessary endings.
Yeah. It's tough love, man.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. I want to pivot on something else that you and I started with yesterday. And the reason I want to do that is because I've seen a change, and it's a good change. I like it. You and I first started chatting, and I think it was via DM. So I think you saw me on Craig's show. And then it was Fast and Furious. I got you with Bo, our producer, and then we started like figuring out what we're gonna do. And I'm coming to you next, so that's gonna be kind of fun. But one of the things that you used to say is like, well, as long as the universe wants it, or whatever's going on with the universe.
Here it comes.
But since you've been sitting here, you haven't said universe once, but you've said God 3 times. What is changing?
Well, I'm God curious. You can trademark that. We talked about it last night. Something is talking to me, and I've said universe. I've said source. I believe in God. I do. Something is aligning with me, and as I'm saying it, I'm getting choked up, and it feels good, and it feels right. I'm here, like I said. I have been shot at. I have had a gun to my head. I have been stabbed. I have been beaten. I shouldn't be here. Most of my friends from high school are dead or in jail, or alcoholics, drug addicts. I'm here. I'm playing with house money. Somebody's looking out for me, and it's God. It's not source. It is not. I know that makes you happy.
What makes me happy is to see you win in this particular genre.
I was just gonna say that you complete my sentences. Just watch. Now that I have accepted it, that there is a higher power helping me, and it's God. There's going to be massive success. I mean, I'm here on your show. I was a couple weeks ago. I was on the Radcast. The people are taking note, and that's just being authentic and genuine. And man, there's just something's here looking out for me, and I want to know more. We had some deep conversations. I asked you which Bible I should reread that has the best interpretation. I want it. I will read it before you get to my house. I will read your book before you get to my house. I'm doing the work. I'm not sitting here with this cute, handsome face and this perfectly chiseled body. I was messing. I do. You
should call it Adonis for life.
Yeah. I'm real. I love myself. I do. I love me some me
in a healthy way. Yeah.
In a very healthy way, and it's. And not just the looks, just who I am as a person. I really love who I see in the mirror. I'm really proud.
And there was a time you didn't.
No,
so
I'm really proud to be my.
So if you don't now, audience, you're in good hands. You just got to keep going. Right.
You too. Yep. I mean, you were in the same situation, and tough times don't last. Tough people do. And you know the way out of it? Fighting, scratching, clawing, right through. The proverbial storm, and it's never as bad as you think it is.
No, here's the crazy part with life in your brain. It's never going to be as bad as you think it is, and 9 times out of 10, it's never going to be as good as you think it is.
You had to say that.
I mean, but
sometimes
real.
It's better.
Yeah,
I will tell you. I didn't think in a million years.
Yeah.
I wrote this book just to get this stuff out of my head.
Yeah,
and now I've got to launch a whole brand. And more than likely, this is what I'm going to see through for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And who's it going to help? Millions. I'm going to help you get this production. And I'll be one of the first people up there freaking. I thought about doing, here's a funny thing. So you know Bert Kreischer, the comedian? So there's this comedian, they call him the Machine.
Okay.
And he's a little bit heavier, and he gets up on stage and he takes his shirt off all the time. So I'm gonna implement that.
Okay.
That'll be funny. Tacky but funny. He's laughing over here.
After you've already commanded me to do abs 3 times a week.
Hey, I said twice. I'll let you have do two times.
All right.
And I'm gonna hold you to that.
All right.
So I just got to tell you, I love you, and anything you ever need, you've got a forever friend in me. It's weird how you complete my sentences. We got a little bromance going on, and when you come to Michigan, we're gonna have a lot of fun, and we're gonna
bring these guys too.
We're gonna do everything we can to make sure that that you're successful and you can help every single buddy in this life, and we're gonna take it to the next level. I say this all the time. How good can you handle life? Mm-hmm. How good can you guys handle life? Because it gets better and better and better. And when you think that you've reached level, there's another level. Yeah. Now you're going to reach different levels. You reach different devils. Mm-hmm. But some of them are tough, and I just came out of, like I said, a 5-month devil. Like, what the heck is going on? I couldn't win if I tried. Mm-hmm. And then boom, all of a sudden it just started. And it was dealing with that block. Mm-hmm. And you listen to my podcast in March, you hear me talking about it. I'm going through it right now. Yeah. And then now I'm recording podcasts like, I'm through it. It's fun. And then I'll have I'm on that up, and then we'll come down. And next year.
The difference is when you're doing the work, the ups don't go as far down.
Again, you complete my sentences. I was just going to say the beauty part is that it raises up every time. Yeah. And you're not coming to the lows of low. Yeah. And this one was a little bit low. It happened to be just the universe keeps sending me.
What?
Yeah, I'm sorry. This was the universe. This wasn't a God tested. This was, all right. Hey, dummy, you didn't get the point. We're going to send this to you again, and now I got it. Yeah. This was a universal sign.
Yeah, there's absolutely truth in that. You get to take the test again and again until you pass it, which is better than school.
Sometimes. I'm glad you said there's. Most people won't. They take the test once, they fail, and they stop. Mm-hmm. This is what I am. I'm just stupid. Mm-hmm. The limiting beliefs. Mm-hmm. And here I'm telling you that's garbage. Mm-hmm. I was going to swear, but it's garbage. Yeah. Because limiting beliefs, a lie. It's meant to keep you small, crabs in a bucket, power through that and say, why not me? Mm-hmm. Why? And your answer is that limiting belief. Yeah. Which is a lie.
Yeah. I said when Kyle from our team, who does all of our social stuff, he created this something I totally forgot that I said on stage during an event. He just posted a reel about it not that long ago, and in that whole concept, it was about what could you do if there was no limitation. Like literally, like if you put yourself in the mental framework to say, what could I do if I had no self-limitation? If I had no one telling me I couldn't do it, if I wasn't telling myself I couldn't do it, what could you do? Because really, growth is all about information and action. Get information, apply information, take action, and then build momentum step by step, time after time. And before long, you look back and you're like, holy crap, man, look how far I've come. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's exactly what you told me about building ladders when you first got back into the construction business. You couldn't afford ladders. You got it done. Where there's a will, there's a way. Yeah. I
think that's why I believe that I could build anything. Is because literally I started the first company out of the trash piles.
Because you've done it before.
Exactly.
Experience.
But I could see how
trusting yourself.
But I could that and I trust God. Absolutely trust God.
Good one.
Absolutely trust God. Jesus has been very, very good to me. But in the process of doing that, I can see how that would be scary to people who haven't been on that journey. I could see how they see an open field and I'm like, we're going to put a multi-million-dollar facility here. And then I'm go, how? I'm like, with concrete and rebar and tiles and electrical and IT and, my brain goes into not can it be built, it goes into how am I going to build it.
What does Joe Dispenza say? You do the what and the why, and the how will appear. Yeah. Think about everything you did. You didn't have a plan. Mm-hmm. We had an idea, and then just
even when I bought this facility, my plan looks very different than the outcome, and the outcome is so much better than my original plan.
Well, the book, The Harder Than Life brand. I just wrote this book to get the thoughts out of my head. Boom. Where are we at now? Now we're approaching 100,000 followers on Instagram. We're getting speaking engagements. We're getting. I'm on the Unstoppable show, and who knows where this is going to go next? I met your son-in-law who's going to help us. Yeah. Who knows what that is? I don't even know, but I just trust. I trust in God. I trust in me. And man, if good things continue to happen.
Yeah.
And it's being positive about it.
Yeah.
Knowing that good things are going to happen. Now, the reverse is just as true. If I want to freaking be negative Nelly, boy, what you want will appear. So why not be positive? It's your boy John Gordon says it. Faith over fear. Which one? If you're going to feed them, they believe in the future. If you're going to feed one, why not feed faith?
Yeah.
Good things come from faith. Bad comes from fear. Forget that fear.
Yeah.
No fear.
Yeah. Very true. What you feed will find you. Absolutely.
What would you say? You just texted me this other day. What you seek, you will find.
Well, that I pulled right from the Bible. So.
Oh, that's why.
By my boy Jesus.
That's why it's so good.
So.
You got to pot it twice.
That's right. That's right. Well, look, man, I'm going to wrap this up with one final question.
Uh-oh.
No, this is going to be an easy one for you. It's a layup. What does it take to go from stuck to unstoppable?
Ooh, positive mindset, courage, vulnerability, communication. And I know that's a weird answer, but vulnerability that, hey, I'm scared. And then people will help you. People are awesome. And lots of love.
Yeah. Awesome, dude. Well, I love you, brother. I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. Where can everybody find out more about the book and about you?
Hearterthanlife.com, Kelly.Siegel, it's spelled SIEGEL.71 on Instagram. Harder Than Life is available on Amazon. I actually do the narration of the audiobook. You can hear me get choked up. There is some serious vulnerability in there. After I read it, I can't believe I wrote that. Now, I did leave some things off. There'll be a second book and there will be a third book. And they're already in the works. So hit me up. We're gonna be doing events across the country as we do it. Something tells me that I'm gonna be working with you a lot, and
cool.
I'm excited as long as we're helping people and giving back. And remember, all this is for charity. I'm not trying to buy a bigger jet. I'm not trying to buy a bigger boat. This is all gonna go to charity, and 2 children's charities and 1 addiction charities.
Love it, dude. Love it, too. Well, thank you guys for coming on.
Love you, man. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, that's going to wrap up this episode of Stuck to Unstoppable. Go check out Kelly. Go find his stuff. Go read his book. Listen to the audiobook. That's actually how I personally digested the book. He does get raw. He does get real. And I find that people who are willing to get raw and real with you on a consistent level end up allowing you to get raw and real with yourself. So we'll see you again on the next Unstoppable. Take care. I hope you liked that video. And if you did, make sure you check out this next video right here.
The HOPE acronym stands for Help One Person Every Day. Because if you are nervous to put yourself out there and be seen online with your service or story or product or whatever it is that you have that you can offer to help people, if you're scared and you're not doing it, it's because you're thinking about the wrong thing.